Have you ever wondered how the Aztecs maintained law and order in their society? Today, we dive into the world of Aztec punishments. The Aztecs, a civilization that thrived in central Mexico from the 14th to the 16th centuries, were known for their complex societal structure and intricate legal system. Their society, while advanced in many respects, was underpinned by a strict set of rules and regulations. These laws were not mere guidelines, they were the threads that held the fabric of the Aztec civilization together. If these laws were broken, punishments were meted out swiftly and impartially. The Aztecs believed in maintaining the balance of their society, and this often meant enforcing their laws with an uncompromising fervor. Their punishments, often severe and sometimes shocking to our modern sensibilities, were considered necessary to keep their civilization flourishing. Now, let's delve into the fascinating world of Aztec punishments, from the least to the most severe. Starting with the less severe punishments, we can see how the Aztecs were quite progressive for their time. Now, when we talk about punishment in the Aztec society, it's not all blood and gore. In fact, for lesser offenses, the Aztecs had a rather pragmatic approach. They relied heavily on public humiliation, forced labor, and fines. Now you might be thinking, well, that doesn't sound too different from what we have today. And you'd be right. It's a testament to the Aztecs' sense of fairness and order. Public humiliation was a favored method, especially for minor offenses. Offenders might have their heads shaved or be paraded around the city wearing a particular garment that marked them as criminals. This was less about causing physical pain and more about stigmatizing the offender, making them an example for others to learn from. Forced labor was another common punishment. Instead of being locked up, offenders were put to work. They would be sent to fields, construction sites, or any other place where their labor could be used for the benefit of the community. This way, they were able to pay off their debt to society in a tangible and productive way. Fines were also frequently handed out. If you were caught stealing, for instance, you'd be expected to pay back the value of what you stole, often with interest. This was a straightforward and effective deterrent, and it was a punishment that directly addressed the crime. These punishments were used judiciously, often for offenses that we would consider petty today. They were designed to maintain social order and to deter people from committing crimes. And they worked. Aztec society was highly organized and surprisingly crime-free, showing that these lesser punishments were effective in their own right. These punishments might seem mild, but as we move further along, you'll see how the Aztecs took their law enforcement to another level. Things start to get more serious now as we look at the intermediate level of Aztec punishments. When we delve into the realm of intermediate Aztec punishments, we're met with severe methods such as flogging and mutilation. These punishments, while brutal to our modern sensibilities, were designed to keep order and enforce the strict societal norms of the Aztec civilization. Flogging was not a simple slap on the wrist. It was a public spectacle, a stern warning to others who might be tempted to disregard the law. Offenses that led to flogging ranged from theft to public drunkenness. The severity of the flogging was proportionate to the crime committed. A petty thief might receive a few painful lashes, while a repeat offender could be flogged until they were unconscious. Mutilation, on the other hand, was reserved for more serious crimes. The Aztecs believed in the principle of an eye for an eye, and this was quite literally the case for crimes such as assault or causing physical harm to another. The injured party could request that the offender be maimed in the same way they had been hurt. For example, if a person's hand was injured in an assault, the perpetrator might have their hand mutilated in return. These punishments were carried out swiftly and without mercy. The Aztecs did not believe in incarceration as we do today. Instead, they saw swift punishment as the best deterrent for future crimes. It was a harsh system, but one that the Aztecs believed kept their society in check. However, it's important to remember that these punishments, though brutal, were not the harshest the Aztecs had to offer. For more serious crimes, the penalties were even more severe. These punishments were certainly severe, but the Aztecs had even harsher penalties for more serious crimes. Now we come to the most severe punishments in the Aztec society. The Aztecs were not a civilization to be trifled with. They valued their laws and societal norms above all else, and those who dared to challenge these were met with harsh consequences. Slavery was one such severe punishment. The Aztecs had a unique system of slavery, where individuals could become slaves as a form of punishment for certain crimes, or even to escape extreme poverty. However, it wasn't the kind of lifelong, hereditary slavery we often associate with the term. Aztec slaves could own property, marry, and even buy their freedom, yet their freedom was always at the mercy of their master. On the other end of the spectrum was the ultimate punishment, death. The Aztecs didn't shy away from capital punishment for crimes they deemed severe enough. These included murder, theft of sacred items, and even lesser offenses if repeated too often. But it wasn't just the severity of the punishment that stood out, it was also the method of execution. One such method was stoning. This was not the communal stoning we might think of, but rather a more ceremonial process. The criminal was tied to a post in the middle of a public square, and the accuser, or a designated official, would throw the fatal stone. Another method involved throwing the condemned into a fire, only to be saved at the last moment, not for mercy, but to be killed by a blow to the head instead. This practice was particularly used for priests who had committed serious offenses. Then there was the sacrificial punishment. This was reserved for the most heinous of crimes, where the criminal would be sacrificed to the gods in a public ceremony. This was considered the ultimate form of punishment and atonement. These severe punishments were a clear indication of how seriously the Aztecs took their laws and societal norms. The Aztecs were a society that believed in the power of consequences, and they made sure that their punishments were severe enough to deter potential criminals. The severity of Aztec punishments raises a question. Were these methods effective in maintaining law and order? The answer, surprisingly, is yes. The Aztecs were, in essence, a law-abiding society. The fear of severe consequences, it seems, was a powerful deterrent. The Aztecs believed in the principle of teot, which loosely translates to divine will or energy. According to this belief, there were divine consequences for breaking societal norms and laws, which further reinforced the effectiveness of their punishments. However, it's important to note that the Aztec justice system was not solely based on fear. Another key factor was the value they placed on social harmony. They believed that each person had a role to play in maintaining the balance of their society. This philosophy, combined with the fear of severe punishments, contributed to a society that largely adhered to the laws and norms of the time. But what about the legacy of Aztec punishments? Did they influence later civilizations or modern-day justice systems? While it's difficult to draw direct lines of influence, there are certainly echoes of Aztec practices in later societies. For example, the concept of an eye for an eye, which was prevalent in Aztec society, can be seen in many justice systems throughout history. Moreover, the Aztecs' emphasis on social harmony and the principle of teot can arguably be seen in modern concepts of restorative justice. This approach focuses on repairing the harm caused by criminal behavior, and it emphasizes the importance of community in the process. In conclusion, the severity of Aztec punishments may seem extreme to us today. However, these methods were effective in maintaining law and order within their society. The legacy of these practices can still be seen, in some form, in our modern justice systems. While harsh by today's standards, these punishments played a crucial role in the Aztec society. From public humiliation to death, Aztec punishments were varied and severe. We've journeyed through the intriguing world of Aztec punishments, from the lesser penalties like sweeping the streets, to intermediate ones such as the confiscation of property. And who can forget the severe punishments? We've explored the chilling practices of death by stoning, strangulation, and the infamous Flower War. We've also delved into the effectiveness of these punishments. With a society largely free of crime, it's clear that the fear of such severe penalties had a profound impact. We've also looked at the lasting legacy of these practices, how they've been studied, and what they've taught us about Aztec society and culture. In essence, the Aztecs had a unique, albeit brutal, system of law enforcement. It's a testament to their complex societal structure and their uncompromising approach to maintaining order. The Aztecs had a unique approach to law enforcement, one that still fascinates historians today. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of Aztec punishments.